Hi everyone, today is Monday and I'm going to be teaching you about something, well more like telling you about something I guess. So for my history class we're reading a book called Babi Yar, and it's about a young boy who was living under the rule of the um, communist Russians, and then when the Germans occupied Russia, living under the rule of the Nazi Germans. And at one point he talks about the monastery, the Kiev Petresk Monastery. I probably said that really wrong, but it doesn't matter. I'll call it KP Monastery for short. So what happens to this monastery is that it is a kind of like a museum cultural center for Russian history, and it has a lot of history in it, and it's really important and it's really culturally rich. And the Germans see it as this big, strong fortress, a defensive fortress that you can use to set up guns and headquarters for some German officers. So they do that after the Russians have retreated. And maybe like 10 days after they had occupied the monastery, it exploded with like 4 to 5 explosions, the last being the biggest and most damaging. And pieces flew from that monastery for a long time, and the monastery was practically destroyed. The Russians had this to say about the explosions. Soviet experts drew up a report of the Special State Commission of Research into Crimes Committed by German Fascist Invaders, which says, at one point, on the order of the German command, military units looted, blew up, and destroyed the most ancient cultural monument, the Kiev Petrek Monastery. And then the author of Babi Yar, Kuznetsov, goes on to say, such is the official version, confirmed by the sworn evidence of a hardened war criminal. But it is sufficient to glance through the newspapers published at the time to see that the Germans made no propaganda capital out of the destruction of the monastery. It is true that they blew up and burnt down a great deal, but that was only when they were retreating in 1943. In 1941, it was only the Russians who were blowing things up as they retreated. So I guess I didn't really teach you guys anything, but I found this to be really interesting, that the NKVD, who are the most likely people to have mined this monastery, blamed the Germans on it, even though it was them who had destroyed this big cultural center for Russians. Russians destroyed their own cultural center. And more evidence to this, besides that the Germans had nothing to say about it, was that the NKVD had previously mined the town that the Germans had occupied, and 5 days after the Germans had got there, after they had settled in, all the officers were in this big hotel, they had their headquarters set up and everything, the whole town blew up. And it was obvious that the NKVD, who had been there previously, mined it before they retreated. So, something to think about. I'm looking forward to learning a whole bunch of new things this week from everyone's video, and yes, I am wearing a hat because my hair looks disgusting today because I haven't showered and it's a Sunday, so yeah. But I hope everyone has a fantastic week at school. Anyways, yay!